Okay. I think we could be getting close to live here.
Okay. This one's still, we're having trouble starting. Checking connection. Do you have your Wi-Fi on or something?
No, don't want the Wi-Fi.
I'm going to start it again.
Okay. Should
Go ahead. Can we turn the channel? Where's that?
Yeah.
No, leave one for please. I'm sorry.
So should we go? Hey, how's it going?
Hey, great. Are we live?
Why isn't this? It's funny, I'm not seeing this.
Do you have to refresh it?
I do. I did.
Okay. So that's what we want for our questions.
But I'm not seeing this. We're streaming.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Let's go.
Current. Great. We got 6 people on.
Perfect. That's great.
Great. Let's awesome. Okay, we're live.
Okay, great. Hey, welcome.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. Thanks for joining us tonight. Thursday night, 6 o'clock here at Passalacqua Winery. I think most of you who I spoke with today were going to join this call, so thanks for joining us. You should have received your package of samples that have the 3 wines in them. The first one being the Watson, the second one being the Primitivo, and the third one being the Cabernet. So if you haven't yet, you should open those up, put them in your glasses, give them a little air, and taste along with us as we taste.
Yeah, these wines, I just bottled into those tubes last week, so they're, this is definitely a live wine. So do give it some air, swirl it around, and then taste along with us.
Perfect. So for those of you who have tasted this before, the Watson Vineyard 2016 vintage is another classic one from Watson Vineyard. If you have spent some time in Dry Creek Valley, you know that it is long and narrow. I think it's 2 miles wide, 16 miles long. So the Watson Vineyard is all the way to at the north end of the valley on the western bench. And what that means is that it's up on the hill, it's not on the valley floor. It's eastern facing, so it gets a lot of morning light, some midday light. More importantly, though, the age of the vines, really old vines, 77 years old. Big trunks, long arms on them. It means they get great spread in the canopy, hang at nice fruit, even distribution, no clumping. More importantly than that, though, soil, really red, rocky soil, and that is found on the benches of Dry Creek. So next time you're out driving on West Dry Creek or on Dry Creek Road, I bet you're going to notice the red soil, which is indicative of high quality of Zinfandel. So the Watson Zin comes from that ranch. To me, the Watson Ranch is classic Dry Creek Zin. It is, and when you look for old vine Zin in Dry Creek, I think this is textbook.
Yeah, the vines are really have come into their own. They're self-regulating at this point. They've been there for so long. The roots have found water. This vineyard is dry farmed. And years past when we've had heat spells and drought, I've been concerned and gone out there, and some of the other vineyards the leaves are wilting or in a heat spell, and the Watson vines are totally fine. They've found water, so they're completely self-regulating, which means we don't have overcropping, which means we have great density and concentration of fruit. And definitely for me, this is, like you said, a very good representation of what I think of as Dry Creek Valley Zinfandel. Really brambly, dark fruit profile, almost a dusty character, which I think comes from that red soil.
Yeah. For me, Dry Creek Zin, like the bell curve on it, the sweet spot is it has that dark, luscious, heavy fruit. It has a little bit of bright fruit, so the acid, bright red fruit. And it also has a brambly spice package that comes along with it. And so once you get all of that integrated, nothing out of whack, supported by some nice oak, for a longer finish, I think that's your definition of Dry Creek Zin. And I think the Watson, frankly, is right there in that sweet spot with any Zin in Dry Creek Valley.
Yeah, it is showing that toasty vanilla on the finish there.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. This vineyard's actually really funny because we go out and pick in the morning, early mornings, and you want the fruit cold. Sometimes you start before light, and it's always good. You're always wondering before the vineyard crew shows up how many guys are going to be there to pick. And it's funny because I'm standing between two examples of opposite ends of the spectrum. Watson, great vineyard manager, shows up. He probably has like 40 guys, which you're thinking is
ladies and ladies.
And ladies, yeah, 40 people to pick. I made that mistake on the earlier call too. Anyway, there's 40 people to help pick, and that's great because you know that we have about we have certainly some tonnage to pick, and so it's going to go fairly quickly. The problem with that is that we sort every bunch in the field. So we pick in half-ton bins, and we have a table that goes over the top of both bins, and so we can get the fruit dumped on the bins, and then we sort into the bins. And what we're looking for is underripe fruit, anything that has any rot or botrytis, which is mold on it. Anything shrivelly, pretty much I tell my guys, anything you don't want to eat, you shouldn't pick. So we sort every bunch that comes into this winery before it comes to the winery. Well, when you have 40 people picking, you get a lot of, it seems like it comes in waves. And so they pick a bin and they come and put it on the table. And when you get into a section where you're sorting, it really slows down. So a lot of times, these guys and women don't like us sorting the field because it really slows down the picking. But I think at the end of the day,
we end up with perfect
fruit. Yeah. All right, moving on to the Primitivo. So as I said, hold on one sec. All right, there we are. Sorry about that. As I said, opposite end of the spectrum in picking. Usually we only have like 3 guys.
Girls too.
Here?
Okay.
Anyway, so it's always a struggle for this grower to get people to help him harvest the fruit. So it's exactly the opposite. Here we only have three or four people, and it takes generally forever to get this fruit in. So Lavender Hill, it is due west of the winery where we are right now. It's up on in the hills of Dry Creek Valley in the Western Hills. And next time you're driving out the valley, look to your west, and once I describe this site to you, you will recognize it. So when I walk in a vineyard, I like to look for the size and the type of trees that are around in the vineyard. And that generally tells me if the water content in the soil, how deep, how fertile the soil is. Big trees mean deep, rich soils, which is generally good. This particular site, I don't think there's a big tree around. There's a lot of brush, a lot of scrub brush, scrub brush, around the vineyard and on the ridge. And the ridge to the south and the ridge to the north both have big conifers and oaks, but this particular site is just rocky, desolate, almost moonscape with brush. And I think that's what really yields this fruit, because it's really it's intense. You know,
We end up
it's
with-
intense, but it's
Yeah, it is intense.
it's
mountain
intense.
fruit. But we do get smaller yields from this vineyard. Typically, we're looking for 2 clusters per shoot. So for each woody spur that's left over from the previous year, we get 2 green shoots coming out. Like right now, we're starting to get 2 shoots come out. And we look for, we're either dropping fruit back to 2 clusters per shoot or hoping for 2 clusters per shoot. It's a good balance for the vines. And these vines here are mostly giving us 1 cluster per shoot, sometimes no clusters, and every once in a while 2 clusters per shoot. So that decreased yield really gives us an intensity of flavor, tannin, structure, of everything. Smaller berries, tiny little clusters. So we really do get this intense mountain fruit from this vineyard.
Yeah, and the nice part about this year, I think in 2015 we maybe got 75, 80 cases.
Yeah.
This year we have 4 barrels in the winery, which is about 100 cases. I know we sold quite a bit of that barrel tasting weekend and back, but I think we made the decision that we had enough. Obviously, first come, first serve, but we had enough to send out for you to taste because they're obviously one of the most coveted wines.
2 of the 4 barrels.
Yeah, 2 of the 4 right here that Passalacqua produces. But again, one of my favorites as I opened in 2012 the other night, and it's big and rich and
It has great structure right now. It's showing a lot of tannin structure on the mid palate, and some of I always get lavender on the nose, and I don't know if that has anything to do with the lavender that's planted around this vineyard, but it's definitely consistently there year to year.
Yeah, there's a little bit floral.
Yeah.
Nice. Question?
Yes, people want to know what the wine will taste like when it's finished, Esther.
We get this question a lot at barrel tasting, and for me, it's these wines are the profile is what it is. If you like the fruit that you're tasting, this like with the Primitivo, you get a kind of a black raspberry, cranberry. That fruit is there. I can't change that, nor do I want to change that. It's the expression of the vineyard. All that's going to happen with time is a little bit of integration of all of these pieces. Right now, sometimes in barrel wines can be a little piecemeal. You can get a little bit of fruit, and then you get a little bit of tannin, and then in the finish you get a little bit of oak. But I find with time, a little bit more time in the barrel and then time in the bottle, all of these components just come together so that not one thing jumps out at you. It all becomes cohesive.
Yeah, I've had the same question asked when she's not here, and people say, I always say, when I a novice, I think when I barrel taste, I look for things right off the bat that I don't like. So I think is it bitter? Is it sour? Because those are things that are not going to change over time. And then I look for fruit. Is there fruit there? Because I know that that fruit is only going to develop more, rather than if there's no fruit there, then you're really going to have nothing.
You can't make the fruit show up later. Yeah.
And those of you obviously who are participating in this call know about our oak programs, and so you know that our wines are not overly oaked, and she doesn't have a heavy hand in oak. So everything gets really integrated in the end nicely. Great. Alrighty, on to the 2015 Cabernet. So the last few were 2016s. The 2016 Watson, 2016 Primitivo. This is a 2015 Cabernet from my parents' ranch here in Dry Creek Valley. It is a blend of multiple blocks. Which blocks?
It's mostly block 18 and 19, with a little bit of block 4, and then a tiny bit of block 23, 10, and 13. And you're tasting it right before bottling. So whereas the 16s, you're a few months away, it still has to age a little bit longer, the tannins are going to soften. This is right before bottling, and I think I'm very excited we're bottling it right now because it's at a good spot. It's exactly where I'd want it to be right before going to bottle.
So those of you who have seen the maps here or even been out to the ranch know that there's about 130 acres of Cabernet planted out there. And we have our favorite blocks or sections. Each block for us functionally is a different irrigation block because of different soil types. And if you've seen the ranch, you know that there's different slopes and row directions and hillsides and elevations and soil types, and pretty much any variable you can have in growing exists on this site. And that's really great because it's big enough that if you don't like one condition, there is another one that you do like. So we have our favorites, block 4, block 18, 19, and we have our, and each year we spend a lot of time out there during harvest, going through and looking at the different blocks and finding our new favorites. So this one is a blend of those. I think it's one of the better wines that have come off that ranch.
Yeah, it's a good representation of the style that comes from the ranch. We do the block designate program to show you what these different orientations and soil types can do, how it shows in the glass. But this is a great representation of what we can get from the ranch, of the type of Cabernet that we're able to make. And I love the fruit that's showing right now. It's really bright and upfront, has a nice mid palate. The finish is great. And when I think of bottling, it's like a snapshot in time. So you hope that you've got the bottling right. Like let's freeze it in time right here and get it in the bottle. And it'll go through some bottle shock, but it'll come back to this point. So it's always exciting when you feel like you've nailed that timing.
Yeah, it's really nice in the mid palate. It's heavy, luscious. Good. I had a question asked earlier. So those of you who are participating in the Tasting at Home program you have the brochure in front of you. You know that you can go online and log into your account, and we've built an order for you, and you can just change out the numbers. In there, you will see the Bevel Heirloom Zin is offered as well as futures. So we offer 4 wines as futures. 3 of those are exclusive to the futures order, which means the Watson, the Bevel, and the Heirloom, the Watson, the Bevel, and the Lavender Hill, will not be sent out in club. So we only sell them as futures. So we did option in there for you the Bevel Heirloom and Bevel Heirlooms in. The Cabernet will be released in November. If you purchase it as futures, you do get preferential pricing as opposed to when it comes out, and it's normal retail pricing and club pricing. Are there any other questions? Release of the futures. These will be bottled in July and released next March. Barrel tasting. It's really windy here today. If you want the weather report, bright and sunny, but a little windy.
We were going to show the view from the deck.
Right. We wanted to do this out on the deck. So you guys would be like, oh, there's the deck.
Blustery day.
Yes. All right, perfect. Well, thank you for joining us. If you have any questions that come up as you're finishing your samples, you can always email us here at the winery. You can email or call Sue or me if you have all the information. And cheers.